It's been revealed the mother of three was shot 4 times, as our US correspondent Catherine Firkin explained.
The shooting death of US citizen Renee Good have been released. Court says within minutes of her car crashing into a pole.
To our big story tonight. Friday morning, FBI agents arrested a Milwaukee County.
Judge, anything to say about this?
The Trump administration opening a new channel in its immigration.
Looking around the vehicle and then to the front of it. Another agent tells Renee Good.
What's really being hidden when a single gunshot rings out in Minneapolis and shakes the whole power structure? Are you feeling uneasy about a future that looks completely chaotic? If so, it proves this video didn't just show up by chance. It really found its way to you. From Minneapolis, a bloody clash kicks off a federal investigation. Data pulled from a seized phone leads straight to judges in Illinois and Texas. Arrest warrants get signed in the middle of the night. The city's power center gets raided. Assets and secrets get dragged into the open under federal watch. Every location is a piece of the puzzle, and they're all connecting into a scary picture. And the real story doesn't stop there. Right below, you're about to see the full truth unveiled about the chain of events shaking the whole country. Before we dive in, drop a prayer in the comments, just a way to hold steady in the spreading chaos. No need to wait any longer. Let's jump right into the first hot update, the gunshot that tore through Minneapolis. Crime cover-up or justice under fire. A sharp crack shattered the quiet morning in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and in just a split second, the normal everyday order broke like glass hit by a rock. Amid the gun smoke and blaring sirens, you're no longer just watching this story. You feel the chaos, the cold dread, the suffocating unease right there with it. Minneapolis isn't new to clashes, but that shot pushed things way past the usual line. A 7-year-old woman named Renee Good went down after an ICE agent fired during what they called a routine operation. In a few seconds, a standard law enforcement job turned into tragedy, and we started seeing this wasn't some isolated incident. This city of over 425,000 people has been a hotspot for federal crackdowns for years, where ICE agents often face fierce pushback. Homeland Security reports show attacks on federal agents have jumped more than 150% lately. Things like throwing hard objects, ramming vehicles, even homemade weapons. Those numbers hit different when you see the video of a car speeding straight toward officers. According to Fox News, at the moment of the shooting, Renee Good drove her car right toward the ICE agents during an immigration raid, forcing them to react instantly. One bullet went through the windshield, and it all ended in chaos. Screams, screeching brakes, blood on the cold pavement. Watching frame by frame, you can almost feel the heart-pounding tension no script could ever capture fully. What happened in Minneapolis isn't one of a kind. Similar cases popped up in Illinois and Texas, where federal agents got hit by cars or makeshift weapons on the job. The FBI has logged hundreds of these attacks in recent years, pointing to a bolder wave of violence, and that gunshot starts looking like just the tip of something much bigger and more dangerous. In the Bible, Psalm 37:14-15 warns about that cycle of violence. The wicked draw the sword and bend their bows to bring down the poor and needy, but their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. Those old words ring like an indictment, not against one person, but against using violence to hide the truth. The investigation peeled back more layers, making the picture messier. Renee Good didn't just happen to be there. Reports say she had loose ties to a criminal network already under watch. Those connections shift the question from self-defense or mistake to who's really behind this and why use violence as a shield. Jeremiah 9-8 nails it. Their tongues are like deadly arrows. They speak friendly words to their neighbors, but in their hearts they plot harm. Put that next to the facts coming out, and it's hard not to think of hidden power structures where words and actions go in totally opposite directions. Right after the video came out, people split hard. One side says it's clear self-defense. Federal agents keep getting rammed by vehicles. The other side blasts ICE for excessive force, turning a check into an instant death sentence. those two views crash hard on TV and social media, leaving the big question, based on what we've seen and what's coming out, which side are you leaning toward? Those arguments aren't just about the law. They show a deeper fear of a society where violence is getting way too normal. With raids, resistance, and gunshots piling up, the line between justice and chaos gets scary thin, and we start wondering how many more shots before it all spins out of control. The Bible doesn't pick sides here. In moments like this, Scripture doesn't defend anyone. It exposes violence as a double-edged sword that eventually cuts the one swinging it. It's a reminder that covering up truth with force always carries a price you can't escape. So the gunshot in Minneapolis didn't just end one life. It kicked off a chain of events spreading far beyond the city. Seized evidence, connections coming to light, federal probes tightening. It all signals deeper layers still waiting to be uncovered. And while the smoke hasn't even cleared yet, we're already at a new crossroads of truth, with what's coming next looking even more explosive. Corruption network ripped open. 15 judges sold out cheap. The investigation didn't stop at the Minneapolis scene. It suddenly took a much darker, more chilling turn. From the smashed phone grabbed after the shooting, hidden data got cracked open. Messages and deals started popping up like sharp pieces of glass. We began to see this wasn't just one person's story anymore. It was a door cracking open to a whole system rotting from the inside. The first findings left investigators stunned. Careful notes listing payments, dates, locations, and names of the judges sitting on the bench. Justice, what we always thought was untouchable, suddenly looked like it had a price tag. When this came out, you weren't just hearing news anymore. You got pulled right into the center of a legal earthquake. According to U.S. Department of Justice reports, judicial corruption isn't rare. Dozens of convictions get announced every month. In one recent stretch, they saw more than 30 cases in a short time. Those numbers used to just sit on paper, but when you connect them to the Minneapolis data, a clear network starts to form. It stretches from Minnesota to Illinois and reaches into Texas. The investigation exploded like a chain reaction. Early one morning, agents hit multiple addresses at once. Doors got kicked in, lights flipped on, computers and files got sealed. 15 judges were arrested, almost at the same time, each one tied to different prices. $40,000 to $60,000 to ignore procedural mistakes, $150,000 to throw out a case, and $300,000 to make sure an appeal went the right way. Mainstream news outlets say these details have been confirmed by several independent investigations. Public anger spread fast. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse, shouting loud, holding up signs with bitter questions about trust being betrayed. You could feel the tension in the air, like a taut wire. Every accusation carried years of built-up disappointment. Justice, once seen as the last safe place, now became the target of raw fury. Past cases make the picture even grimmer. In Arizona and New Mexico, an operation called Broken Gavel took down 12 judges who took bribes from cartels, totaling $42 million according to FBI records. In Wisconsin, a judge got accused of hiding immigrants to block arrests, and the Fat Leonard case exposed millions in bribes sneaking into the Navy system. When you string it all together, Minneapolis isn't an outlier. It's just one link. In the middle of these cold facts, the Bible speaks like a direct accusation. Proverbs 17:23 says, "The wicked accept bribes in secret to pervert the course of justice." Short, sharp words, like a knife, straight to the heart of what's right in front of us. No need to stretch it. Just lay it next to the facts, and the match is chilling. More findings kept pouring fuel on the fire. The data shows these crooked decisions didn't just change one case's outcome. They hurt whole communities, letting people with money walk free while leaving the powerless behind. Jeremiah 5:28 described it. They do not judge with justice the cause of the orphan. They do not defend the rights of the poor. Put that verse next to these bent rulings, and it feels terrifyingly spot on for right now. Of course, not everyone buys the conclusion right away. Some call it a witch hunt, saying the justice system is being blown out of proportion. But DOJ numbers show judicial corruption cases made up to 44% of federal convictions in certain periods. Those figures force a hard question. If this isn't a systemic problem, why are the rates so high? And how do you look at these facts? The debate keeps splitting people. One side demands major reform. The other worries that painting with too broad a brush will wreck whatever trust is left in the law. Between those two views, one thing can't be denied. Handcuffs have clicked on those judges' wrists, and sealed documents aren't hidden anymore. The truth, shocking as it is, keeps coming into the light. Bible verses keep showing up like stern warnings. Power without accountability leads to collapse. No fancy words, no excuses, just a raw comparison between ancient teaching and today's reality. When you see it, it's hard to call this all just coincidence. The widening investigation has broken the silence, but it's also raising a bigger question. If these 15 judges are only the tip of the iceberg, then who coordinated it? Who benefited most from this system? And who had enough power to shield it for so long? The probes are slowly pointing toward the heart of power in Minneapolis, where strange signs are piling up. The story pauses here, right before the biggest names get called out. We're standing on the edge, between anger and waiting, between what we know and what might get flipped open next. And when that next door swings wide, it might not just be one system on trial. It could be society's trust pushed to the breaking point. Uncovering the dark truth about Hassan Dul and the secret basement in Minneapolis. On the outside, it's bright lights on stage, smooth speeches, and sky-high approval ratings. But behind that shiny image, there are deep, dark cracks leaking out the real story. When the cameras turn off, what's really left in that house of power, and are you ready to look right at it? Hassan Dul, the mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, used to be praised as a symbol of success and fitting in. Then suddenly, he was pulled down from the top by charges that make your blood run cold. From big campaign cheers to 72% support, it all flipped fast against one heavy question. Who's really behind that smile? Walls of power are often painted with hope, but the truth is, they're scratched up with debt and shady deals. Reports say gambling losses and a long, messy divorce pushed Dul into a financial mess, where vague promises started replacing solid principles. Ever wonder, when the pressure hits hard, does a person hold on to honor or trade it all away? The quiet investigation kept building in the shadows, piece by piece turning into a scary picture. Reports show financial tracking caught strange money flows, secret meetings outside normal hours, and coded calls repeating through the night. No noise, no show, just the cold facts written down. The breaking point came at dawn, when agents shattered the silence in a Minneapolis suburb. Under the stairs, in what looked like a normal house, a hidden basement opened up after hydraulic tools roared in, revealing cash and illegal weapons. That moment sliced right through the cover, and could you feel an icon shaking and falling apart? Ecclesiastes 5-8 hits the heart of this before any excuses start. If you see the poor oppressed in a province, and justice and rights denied, do not be surprised, for one official watches over another, and higher ones are over them. Those words ring like a key unlocking layers of stacked up power. This story doesn't stand alone. History in America has shaken many times from similar falls. Reports say the FBI handles dozens of cases every year with high officials, from New York to New Orleans, where backroom deals get exposed by clever stings. That pattern makes the air feel heavier and colder. The debate exploded right away. Some say Dul was just a victim of personal pressure. Others call it the natural result of bad choices. Forums heated up. Comments clashed hard. And where do you stand on that line between sympathy and accountability? Jeremiah 22:13 shines straight into the argument with no mercy. Woe to him who builds his house by unrighteousness, and his upper rooms by injustice. The higher the position, the harder the fall. especially when the foundation was crooked from the start. Skeptics question political motives, but independent data and recorded tapes have closed the circle tight. Reports show the exchanges were willing, not forced, and every decision carried cold calculation. Against that evidence, denials start sounding pretty thin. This truth feels even creepier than the first shock, because it reminds us success on the outside can hide the darkest rooms inside. Ever think power can turn into a clever trap that ends up swallowing the person holding it? When the light finally hits, the story isn't just about one guy. It spreads to thousands of files affected. Sentences need review, trust gets shaken, and a whole system has to face its real face. This isn't just one news item anymore. It's a wake-up bell ringing right into the heart of society. Ecclesiastes 5-8 echoes again, stressing the harsh rule of layered power, where no one escapes judgment's sight. That explains why those at the top fall so hard. The drop from peak to bottom is always a deep, endless pit. With Duhl under arrest, many believe justice is spreading. But the bigger question still hangs there. What happens to over 1,000 related cases, and will real changes be strong enough to chase away the darkness lurking behind the doors of power? Is justice about to win, seizing assets, hunting criminals, and reforming the justice system? The moment that last thread snaps, the whole system that once protected power comes crashing down like a rotten wall after just one push. When the handcuffs click shut outside a house in Minneapolis, Minnesota, do you feel the echo of an era finally coming to an end? Hassan Duhl is led out of his home under flashing blue and red lights. Sealed boxes are loaded into vans, and the list of seized property runs pages long. Cash, weapons, secret files, all come out into the open, turning years of cover-ups into nothing but ashes in front of everyone. This isn't just one isolated hit. According to DOJ stats, corruption costs the U.S. billions of dollars every year, and big arrests like this often open the door to real, deep changes. Are we watching the wheels of justice start turning faster? Right after Duhl's arrest, reports say more than 1,000 old cases that went through the Minneapolis justice system got pulled back for review. Old files are being opened again, sentences are getting looked at line by line, and public trust faces a tough but necessary test. Psalm 89-14 stands as the foundation for all of this, reminding us of an unshakable order. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. Steadfast love and faithfulness go before you. Those words put everything happening now into a bigger frame of values that outlast the headlines. The crackdown doesn't stop at Minneapolis. Reports show people who once benefited from wrong decisions in Illinois and Texas are now being tracked down, their financial records frozen, and subpoenas going out all at once. Do you see how this chain reaction is spreading faster than anyone expected? Along with the arrests, the system is forced to look hard at itself. Federal oversight is being put in place, independent audits are ramping up, and trial processes are getting tighter with new layers of checks. Every step is being made public. No room left for guesswork. Isaiah 61-8 rings out clearly in all this, a straight reminder of standards that can't be compromised. For I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery and wrongdoing. When those words sit next to the numbers of things seized, the message feels cold and very clear. We've seen similar examples before, from Puerto Rico, where a mayor who took bribes got 30 months in prison, to New York, where oversight penalties were used to rebuild whole departments. History shows that every big fall leads to a real reshaping. Some people are still skeptical, saying the changes are only skin deep. But FBI data shows corruption-related convictions have gone up by an average of 12.5 cases per 10 million people during periods of serious reform. Do those numbers feel like reassurance to you? Or a challenge? The pessimists often forget cases like Bridgegate that actually led to real reforms and changed how entire systems worked for years afterward. The shift doesn't happen overnight, but it leaves lasting marks. As boxes get sealed and new rules get rolled out, the public mood is slowly moving from anger to careful hope. This isn't a quick celebration. It's a time that calls for patience and steady watching. Psalm 89-14 shines on the situation again, stressing that the foundation of order isn't in any one person. It's in unchanging principles. When those principles get put back in the right place, the broken pieces start finding new shape. This whole chain of events proves one thing you can't deny. Even if the road is long and winding, wrongdoing eventually gets dragged into the light. Trust isn't built on promises. It's built on actions proven over time. But the story doesn't end here. When one link breaks, bigger questions come up about the full picture of our time, where these signs keep showing up more and more. What's waiting ahead? And what's the deeper meaning of all these shifts in the unfolding story of Scripture? The Bible picture. From corruption to judgment day, God's signs in chaotic times. A quiet settles in after all the fast-moving storms, like a city holding its breath just before dawn. In that silence, you can feel a question rising quietly. No need for a quick answer. From the shots fired in Minneapolis to secret doors being busted open, the pieces that seemed scattered suddenly fit together into one clear picture. When you lay them side by side, it's no longer just a string of hot news. It's a deep slice of our time, where power gets tested and what's right gets weighed. The bigger view shows this isn't about one person or one place. DOJ numbers point to thousands of cases of judicial corruption across the whole country, repeating like the cycles that sank ancient empires. You see that pattern, don't you? Without anyone having to point it out? Looking back over the whole story, the first 4 parts rise up like waves. It starts with violence breaking out, then investigations spreading wide. Next, the collapse of centers of power, and finally, forced changes. DOJ records show an average of about 12.9 corruption cases for every 10 million people, meaning the problem stretches far beyond Minnesota. It's there in Texas too. When you line those events up with the Bible, an old story suddenly throws light on today. In 1 Kings 21, the tragedy of King Ahab and Naboth's vineyard isn't just ancient history, it's a pattern that keeps coming back. Greed and twisted justice. Ahab used his power and a crooked court to take what wasn't his, much like how justice has been bought and sold in the files just uncovered. 1 Kings 21:21 records the judgment that can't be escaped. I will bring disaster on you and wipe out your house. Those words stand like a red line, reminding us that power can't shield anyone from the truth forever. When Elijah stepped up to expose it all, that picture brings to mind modern investigators forcing the darkness into the open. The parallels don't stop there. Psalm 94-23 puts a clear rule right in the middle. He will bring back their evil on them. He will destroy them through their own wickedness. When assets get seized and sentences get reviewed, that rule seems to play out in today's language. Some might say putting the Bible next to current events feels forced, but history shows corruption always follows the same path. Cover it up, let it grow, then it falls apart. Jeremiah 23:12 describes that path in a chilling way. Their way will be like a slippery path in the dark. They will be pushed down on it. Think a little deeper, and what's striking isn't just the punishment, it's the purpose behind it. These upheavals force society to face questions about moral standards, about the line between power and duty. You can see in it not only an ending, but a call to get back on track. The Bible repeats that judgment doesn't come to destroy for no reason, it comes to restore order. When human justice gets twisted, structures have to break, so something better can take their place. That's the logic running straight through from ancient stories to today's legal reality. Seen that way, those dry DOJ numbers aren't just stats anymore. They become signs showing how widespread the problem is and how badly change is needed. Every case brought to light peels off another mask. Some worry that faith will wear thin when these big figures fall. But the Bible offers a different view. Faith isn't built on people, it's built on what's right. When right gets put back in the center, the falling becomes a turning point. Ahab's story shows that power at its peak is often when it's easiest to slip. Jeremiah 23:12 doesn't picture the fall as thunder and lightning. It's a quiet slide in the dark. That image mirrors how small, repeated bad choices lead to an unavoidable end. From Minneapolis to other states, the modern picture seems to replay the same old message. Justice that's bought and sold digs its own grave. When it happens on a large scale, the impact isn't personal anymore. It's something that marks the whole era. In the final quiet of the story, what lingers isn't police sirens or flashing lights. It's the question inside. Will you see this chain of events as just a historical accident, or as a reminder of an order bigger than any system? Justice doesn't disappear, even when it's hidden for a while. What's happening now reflects a steady rule. Truth gets pulled into the light at the right moment. When that happens, hope isn't about dodging the crisis. It's about walking through it with standards reset. And as this picture closes, another view slowly opens, one where similar signs keep showing up in our changing world. Will you spot them when silence settles in again? Or will the story lead us deeper into parts of the age still untold? No one expected it all to start from one short moment, when the calm was shattered and everything slipped off its familiar track. From there, layers of truth slowly came to light, not loud at first, but clear enough to make people stop and take a closer look at what was really happening around them. Each news report that came after didn't stand alone anymore. They linked together like a chain, moving from violence to investigation, then reaching the deepest levels of power. When money starts slipping into justice, when fine-sounding names cover up the truth, and when things that seemed rock solid begin to crack, the full picture slowly emerges, not just of one city, but of an entire system. Looking back at those 5 reports, viewers aren't just watching the news anymore. We're seeing a pattern that's repeated many times in history. Wrongdoing gets exposed step by step, exactly the way the Bible warned long ago. Proverbs 17:23 named the root of the problem early on. The wicked accept bribes in secret to pervert the course of justice. When you see the whole chain of events, that verse doesn't feel like some ancient symbol anymore. It's an exact description of what's happening today. Psalm 94:23 completes the picture by stressing that evil will eventually turn back on the one who caused it. In times like these, the call isn't about fear. It's about waking up. We're reminded that justice may be slow, but it's never absent. And our trust isn't in people, but in the one who holds ultimate authority. Isaiah 1:16-17 says it plainly. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. That's not just a message for those in power. It's for every heart watching these changing times. In this quiet moment, each of us can ask ourselves where we stand in that bigger picture. Take a second to pray for wisdom, for protection, and for a heart that doesn't grow hard toward what's right. If something feels heavy on your heart, leave a prayer or a sincere thought in the comments below as a way to lift each other up in faith. If these words gave you something to think about or a needed reminder, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Every share can be a chance for light to reach one more person who needs to hear about what's right. Thank you for staying with me to the end. I pray that you and your family are kept safe, find peace in your minds, and stay strong in faith. May the Lord's light guide us through these troubled times. Amen.
Residents northeast of Oklahoma City are saying a loud, shrill noise.
A mysterious sound heard through parts of Fort Greene, Brooklyn has been driving some people, we are told, crazy.
Yeah,
This modern world that we thought was so solid and secure is shaking in ways that science just can't explain anymore. From big cities full of lights to quiet little towns out in the country, strange things are popping up one after another, like an invisible power knocking on the door, warning us that mankind has stepped way too close to the final line. Matthew 24, verses 3-14, talked about wars, famines, and earthquakes. But what we're seeing today goes far beyond ordinary disasters. These are supernatural signs, calls coming from heaven that nobody can ignore. Do you feel it too? Like something big is getting real close? Like time itself has gotten heavy and the whole world is holding its breath? Nature isn't just changing, it's groaning. The ground moves like it's alive. The deep ocean is throwing up shapes nobody's ever named. The sky is making sounds like trumpets from another kingdom. And all of this is happening right here in America. 7 different things, from the sea to the land, from the sky down to the depths, aren't just random pieces. They're connected, like echoes of prophecy, like the heartbeat of the last days. What we're about to look at isn't just news. It's evidence. Evidence that the words of the Bible are coming alive in the 21st century, not fading away, but shining bright in a way that's both mysterious and downright scary. The whole point of this video is to open each one of these doors, line them up with scripture, answer the doubters, and then put the full picture together so you can answer one question for yourself. How much time do we really have left? So please, don't skip over any of these signs. All right, let's jump in and look at them one by one. We'll start with 1. The land across the western states and Texas is starting to breathe. It all started real quiet-like, the way a long-held breath finally slips out from deep down. Out in California, then Oregon, and clear down into Texas, folks and engineers started saying the same thing. The ground was swelling up and then sinking back down, steady as clockwork, like something huge underneath was trying to wake up. No earthquakes, no warnings on the seismographs, but roads shifted a few inches overnight. Sounds crazy, but the cracks in house foundations around San Francisco and the weird sinking patches out in rural Texas told a different story. Places that hadn't budged in decades, from the Pacific coast all the way to the dry inland areas, were suddenly acting like some invisible hand was bending the rules of geology. Surveyors measured it and found the ground moving in rhythm, not random at all, more like the planet's own heartbeat. Animals went nuts, dogs barking straight down at the dirt, cattle running off from fields they'd known their whole lives. Some folks swore that when they stood still, they could feel warm air pushing up through their shoes, like the earth itself was breathing. There's something about it that'll make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It's not just strange, it feels like one of those old warnings straight out of the Bible. In Isaiah chapter 24, right before verse 19, it talks about the earth being broken and torn open like a curtain at the end. Then verse 19 hits like thunder across the centuries. The earth is utterly broken apart. The earth is split open. The earth is violently shaken. When people watch the ground rising and falling, like a body taking its last breaths, they start whispering, "Is this what Isaiah saw coming?" It's not just Isaiah. Over in Romans chapter 8, before verse 22, Paul talks about all creation being like a living body waiting to be set free from decay. Then verse 22 fits what we're seeing perfect. For we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pangs together until now. San Francisco, Texas, the whole West, it's turned into the picture of that groaning, that long, tired sigh of a world waiting for judgment. And in Joel chapter 2, right before verse 10, there's the warning about the final army coming. Verse 10 says, "Before them the earth quakes, the heavens tremble." When the ground across America starts moving, not from earthquakes, but from this breathing, folks suddenly realize those words weren't just for reading. They were meant to wake us up. Some try to say it's just groundwater pressure or side effects of climate change, but the scientists themselves shake their heads. No model explains something this big happening in perfect sync, and none of them can account for a rhythm that looks intelligent. This isn't something man-made, and it sure isn't any ordinary natural event. You and I both know, sometimes the Lord doesn't speak in words. He speaks through the ground moving under our feet. This is a warning about how fragile everything really is. Even the things we thought we had under control. One breath from the earth, and it all starts to sway. And when the land itself starts coming alive, the only question left is, what's next? To find that answer, we've got to look out toward the ocean, because there's an even bigger sign waiting out there. 2. A strange sea monster, Leviathan, shows up off the Pacific Ocean. Out in the cold morning fog off the California coast, a bunch of fishermen thought they were just watching dark waves rolling across the Pacific. Then the water ripped open, and this huge black shape rose up from way down deep. Their cameras were shaking bad, not from rough seas, but because their hands wouldn't stop trembling once they realized whatever was coming up didn't look like any creature folks had ever seen before. A real sea monster, so long you couldn't see both ends at once, stretching out like it was measuring their boat. This part of the ocean is famous for mile-deep trenches and lots of earthquakes, but nobody, not even the ocean scientists, ever talked about something hundreds of feet long with shiny metal-like scales catching the gray morning light. Its tail slapped the water once, sending white-capped waves around their little boat. But the thing that really sent chills down their spines wasn't the size. It was the head slowly coming out of the water, long, sharp teeth like tusks, and black eyes that looked right through you, like it could see straight into your soul. It didn't attack, didn't roar, didn't smash the boat. It just looked. Not the look of a wild animal, but something that knew what it was doing, like it had a reason. The creature circled their boat 3 times, slow, on purpose, like it was checking them out, weighing something, or maybe trying to tell them something we haven't figured out yet. Some of the fishermen later said the moment its eyes met theirs, they felt a voice inside their head. No words, just a feeling. Not a threat, a warning. A lot of folks have heard the name Leviathan from old stories, but only after watching the video again did it really hit home. In Isaiah chapter 27, right before verse 1, the Bible talks about the day the Lord punishes the twisting creature in the deep sea. Then verse 1 says, "In that day the Lord shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea." Those words didn't feel far away anymore when you saw that giant thing quietly rise up from the bottom of the Pacific. In Job chapter 41, right before verse 1, it says, "No human power can tame Leviathan." Then verse 1 asks straight out, "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook?" Throwing down a challenge to human pride. Watching something that huge on the video, that question feels like a sharp reminder. Some things only God can control. And in Psalm 104, verse 26 says, "There go the ships, there is that Leviathan, whom thou hast made to play therein." When this Leviathan swam beside their boat, not hurting anything, just watching, it really did look like it was playing, exactly the way the Bible described. Scientists want to say it's just some unknown deep-sea whale, but the size is way beyond what biology says is possible. The metal scales, the aware eyes, the deliberate behavior. No. And the video can't be completely faked when you've got dozens of angles from different phones and cameras on the same boat. And you know, sometimes God doesn't use thunder or earthquakes to get our attention. He uses creatures from the deepest parts of the ocean, places man can't reach. Leviathan isn't just a sea creature. It's a picture of power we can't measure. A reminder that chaos can rise up anytime he says it's time. And right after Leviathan showed up, people started hearing strange sounds from the sky. A sound like trumpets, opening the third sign, 3, the trumpet sound from the sky. Nobody in California thought that quiet evening would turn into a moment that made thousands of people would never forget. It started with one long, metallic note echoing way up in the sky. Then came a second one, a third, like the slow breath of some huge, invisible trumpet hanging in the air. Just minutes later, folks in Nevada and Texas recorded the exact same thing. It was as if the whole sky was sounding one strange signal that nobody had ever heard before. The videos spread like wildfire. Big cities, suburbs, open fields, deserts. Everywhere you looked, the same deep, sharp, powerful sound. Experts said the air pressure was acting weird that day, but even they couldn't explain why the volume, loud enough to make windows shake a few inches in their frames. Old glass panes in Texas rattled against the wood like they were nervous. And out on a ranch in Nevada, horses bolted from their stalls like something invisible was chasing them. People didn't just hear it, they felt it in their chests, in their ribs, like an unseen hand giving the whole world a shake. An old lady in California told the news with a shaky voice. It felt like somebody up there was calling our name. And just imagine, you're standing there. You hear that. Would you brush it off? Or would you feel something holy hiding inside that bone-chilling sound? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, right before verse 16, the Bible talks about the day the Lord comes back with a sound that fills the heavens. Then verse 16 says, plain as day, for the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a trumpet call of God. That trumpet isn't man-made. It's heaven's own wake-up call. And the crazy part? What people heard across America sounded exactly like a real trumpet, just like the Bible described thousands of years ago. In Revelation chapter 8, before verse 6, it talks about 7 angels getting ready to start the final events. Verse 6 says the angels prepared themselves to sound. When California, Nevada, and Texas all heard those trumpet blasts at the same exact time, a lot of folks took it as a warning bell for what's coming next. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, right before verse 52, it talks about the moment everything changes for good. Verse 52 says, at the last trumpet, we will be changed. When that sound went on for minutes and carried hundreds of miles, people started wondering, was this the first trumpet or a friendly reminder to get ready for the last one? Of course, you know there were plenty of folks arguing the other side. They said it was just atmospheric sound waves bouncing around the stratosphere, or factory noise echoing off thick clouds. But those explanations fall apart when you realize thousands of regular people in 3 different states, under totally different weather, all recorded the same clear, rhythmic, metallic trumpet at the exact same moment. No natural phenomenon does that. Those sky trumpets didn't just rattle windows and scare animals. They rattled souls. It was like the heavens were saying, time's running out. The final call is closer than you think. And when the sound finally faded away, one chilling question stayed behind in the minds of everyone who heard it. If this wasn't the sign, then what on earth are we still waiting for? 4. A lot of people report seeing angels, pillars of light, and heavenly singing inside churches. While the whole country was still rattled by those trumpet sounds coming from the sky, something else started happening in churches across Northern California, quieter, but just as jaw-dropping. During regular prayer meetings, folks who were on their knees looking for comfort suddenly saw pillars of light appear right in front of them. It'd start as a faint glow, then stretch up into a straight column a few feet tall, giving off a soft light like morning mist, yet strong enough to make the whole room go dead silent. A bunch of people said that inside that light they could make out the shape of an angel, wings spread wide like an invisible shield, body glowing like hot metal. The amazing part? Nobody felt scared. Instead, a deep peace washed over them, the kind where it feels like your heart is being held by a gentle but rock-solid hands. You ever had a moment when your soul just settled, like somebody picked you up and you felt totally safe? If you have, you'll get why these folks say they'll never forget it. In those same prayer meetings, singing would start up out of nowhere, not from the speakers, not from the choir, but straight out of the air. Clear, high voices, echoing like dozens of souls, all joining in a song nobody down here had ever heard before. One lady in San Jose started crying and said, I didn't just hear it, I felt like they were singing right to me. And maybe you're probably wondering, if you'd been standing there, would you have dared to look up? The Bible talks about this stuff plain as day. In Psalm 91, right before verse 11, God promises to take care of anybody who runs to him for cover. Then verse 11 says, for he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Angels aren't fairy tales, they're real beings sent to watch over us. In Hebrews chapter 1, just before verse 14, it explains what angels do. Then verse 14 asks, "Are they not all ministering spirits, sent forth to minister?" When people in California saw those glowing figures, a lot of pastors figured it was God stepping in personally during all the chaos. In Matthew 18, right before verse 10, Jesus talks about how much every single soul matters. Verse 10 says, "Their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven." That's why plenty of folks believe those pillars of light and that singing weren't just signs, they were protection. Of course, some people still doubt it. They say it was mass hysteria, tricks of the light, or just folks getting emotional during prayer. But the reports came from different churches, completely separate groups, and every single one described the same thing. The light, the wings, the song. Hallucinations don't line up that perfectly. Believe it or not, those pillars of light carried a real clear message. God hasn't stepped out of the picture. He's right in the middle of it, sending his angels into our dark days. And if the angels are already showing up, what's going to happen next? 5. Flash floods, just like the Texas disaster, are happening again with the very same weird pressure pattern. You know, these past few days, while everybody's still looking up at stuff going on in the sky, the ground has opened a whole different chapter. Sudden, terrifying flash floods slamming into Texas and parts of the Midwest. What gives you chills isn't just how strong the water is. It's the exact same strange pressure pattern that caused the big Texas disaster years back, repeating now with scary accuracy. It's way too close to call it a coincidence. Texas, and a lot of those dry, windy places that hardly ever see rain, suddenly get hit with air pressure dropping like a rock in just a few hours. That pulls in thick clouds and rain that comes down like someone turned on a giant faucet up there. Areas that were cracked and baked from drought turn into raging rivers in minutes. Folks don't even have time to figure out what's happening before the water's up several feet, pouring over roads and sweeping away miles of highway like it's nothing. The feeling isn't just surprise. It's that deep, uneasy confusion the Bible talks about in Luke 21:25. Distress of nations with perplexity. The sea and the waves roaring. When those walls of water come roaring across the land, you can't help but think this is more than weather. It hits that old Bible memory about the warnings before the great flood. Matthew 24:37 says it plain. As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Sure, meteorologists have their scientific explanations. Climate change, unusual moisture, hot and cold air smashing together, all that makes sense. But the people paying close attention are asking, why do these floods keep matching, not just kind, but exactly the same pressure pattern, the same rain setup, the same speed of rise? One match you can shrug off, 2 in a row feels odd, but 4 or 5 times with the same signature in the sky? That starts feeling like an unseen hand writing on history's page. Psalm 93:3 says, "The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods lift up their waves." When you hear that water roaring down Texas streets, it's hard not to picture those words. Like a knock on the door, reminding us that water has always stood for both cleansing and judgment. And if Texas, that tough, proud country, has to bow to the flood, the message hits even harder. These floods aren't just causing damage. They're stirring up something deep in our spirit. They take us back to Noah's time, when people thought they had nature all figured out, until the water rose and nothing they built could stop it. These floods happening again today feel like a warning that's gentle but firm, strong but not cruel, saying history never repeats for no reason. And maybe, just maybe, this is the first quiet call. Don't forget what we were told long ago. 6. Strange, straight bolts of lightning, falling from a huge gray cloud like swords of judgment. Nobody knows exactly when it started. People just remember that one day the sky over the west suddenly turned dark, like someone had pulled a heavy gray curtain across half the heavens. Out of that giant cloud bank that covered everything, no rain, no strong wind, just thick ash gray color. Perfectly straight lightning bolts started dropping to the ground like long swords of fire. miles long. They didn't branch out or spread fingers the way normal lightning does. They came down in one clean line, like what folks call bolts of judgment. The sound wasn't regular thunder either. It was more like a deep, muffled explosion that rolled through the ground and made the earth shake a little. Some places felt a light tremor, and a lot of folks thought they'd just had a small earthquake. The strangest part? The whole thing happened in completely dry air. No rain, no storm. Just tense, heavy silence all around, like nature was holding its breath before swinging those swords of light. Seeing it made a lot of people think of the book of Revelation. Revelation 4-5 says, "And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. Those dead straight bolts coming from one spot way up high felt like something not of this world. They didn't look like regular electrical discharges. They looked like signs, almost like a warning written in white fire across the sky. The noise after each bolt sounded like heaven's drum, and folks couldn't help remembering Psalm 77:18. The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven. The earth trembled and shook. When the ground out west gave a little shake after the strongest ones, more than a few whispered they'd just seen a small taste of Revelation 16:18, where lightning, thunder, and earthquake all show up together as signs of the day of judgment. Of course, scientists can offer explanations. Built-up static in dry clouds, unusual atmospheric conditions, or really strong dry lightning. But even the experts get quiet when they see how perfectly straight they were. No branches, no rain at all. Nobody can quite explain why they feel so on purpose, like swords of fire dropped straight from the highest heaven. From a Bible point of view, the West has always been wild country, where folks stand face to face with the raw power of God's creation. Maybe that's why these strange bolts carried extra weight this time. They weren't just weather. They were a reminder that lightning has always stood for judgment, fast, straight, and impossible to dodge. And if you ever stand under one of those bolts yourself, you'll probably ask the same question. Is this just another storm? Or is something trying to tell us something bigger? You feel it in your gut. Sometimes a person's heart knows the truth before science catches up. We'll keep walking through these signs together and see if they're all part of the same bigger story. 7. A giant sinkhole opens up in the countryside, with straight-up flames shooting out, a swirling smoke pillar, and strange metallic sounds coming from inside. There are moments that'll stop even the calmest folks dead in their tracks and make you wonder if what you're seeing is real or something way beyond this world. That's exactly what happened out in the rural Midwest the other day. Picture this, a quiet field, nothing out of the ordinary. Then all of a sudden the ground acts like it's trying to take a breath. It started right after that weird trumpet sound faded from the sky. Folks said the earth gave a little shake, like a guitar string pulled tight. Then, in the blink of an eye, the ground split open in a long crack and collapsed into a huge sinkhole, hundreds of feet across. You could feel the heat on your face even from far away. But the size wasn't the scariest part. What really gave people chills was what came out of it. Tall flames shot straight up from deep down, twisting and spinning like something invisible was steering them. Thick black smoke swirled into a giant funnel, going up into the sky. And the strangest thing of all was the metallic noise echoing from way down below. Not like machines, not like anything natural, but a steady, almost deliberate rhythm. Almost like it was answering the trumpet sound we'd heard earlier. I'm telling you, if you'd been standing there, the hair on the back of your neck would have stood up too. A lot of folks right away thought of Revelation chapter 9, when the fifth angel blows the trumpet and the bottomless pit is opened. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. The sun and the air went dark from the smoke. What used to sound like just pictures in the Bible suddenly felt awfully real. The peaceful Midwest, of all places, looking like the gate to the abyss, the place scripture calls Abaddon or Apollyon. Sure, some scientists tried to explain it away. Maybe methane gas built up underground and caught fire when it hit the air. But can methane make steady metallic sounds? Can it push fire up in perfect spinning columns like somebody's controlling it? Every single person who saw it said the same thing. That wasn't natural. It knew what it was doing. And when dozens of people from different spots all say the exact same thing, it's hard to call it imagination. So that sinkhole out in the Midwest isn't just some regular geological accident anymore. It feels like a warning, a sign that doors are opening between this world and the one the Bible talked about long ago. If the first 6 strange things were calls from the sky, this one was the answer from down below, reminding us that judgment doesn't only come from above. It can come from the depths we've tried so hard to forget. We just went through 7 strange events that scientists can't explain. Which one stuck with you the most? And do you think these are warnings from the Lord? When you look back at all 7 of these things happening in just a few short days, something jumps out that nobody noticed when they were standing alone. They're all coming together like one big symphony of the end times, put together so perfectly that it can't possibly be random. The ocean roaring like the Leviathan waking up, the ground heaving like it's breathing, the sky blasting an invisible trumpet, lightning striking straight down like a flaming sword, floods rising just like in Noah's day, angels showing up in bright white light, and finally a huge burning sinkhole opening up like the pit itself. Each one by itself is strange, but put them together and you can't miss it. A story is writing itself right in front of the whole world. If you've watched this far, I bet you feel that same hurried heartbeat in these events, like time itself is getting squeezed. From the deep ocean where Leviathan stands for chaos, to the earth cracking under our feet, from strange noises pouring out of the sky with no source, to straight down lightning with no storm, from floods following the exact old pattern, to heavenly guards appearing in the light, and then that fiery, bottomless sinkhole. Everything is playing like instruments in one giant orchestra. The question is, who's conducting this thing? And why does every single note line up perfectly with what the Bible laid out thousands of years ago? In Matthew 24-29:3-1, it says, "Right after the trouble of those days, the sun will be darkened, and he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call." Those aren't vague words. They match exactly what we've just seen. Sky going dark, trumpet sounding, angels showing up in bright light. Put it all side by side, and these aren't random events anymore. They're one long trail of signals connecting heaven and earth. In Revelation chapters 6-9, the seals get opened. Then the trumpets start blowing, and every trumpet brings something earth-shaking. The 3rd angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven. The 4th angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck. Cleansing, lightning, oceans screaming, fire pouring out of the pit. It's like the pages of the book came alive and walked into real life. Honestly, the more I type this, the more the hair stands up on my arms. You feeling that too? Or is it just me watching these pieces snap together tighter and tighter? And then Romans 8:19-22 says the whole creation is waiting on tiptoe. We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. It's not just people waiting for the end. The oceans, the land, the sky, the waters, everything is groaning and going into labor. What we're seeing is nothing less than the first pains of something brand new being born. When the Bible talks about birth pangs, that's a sign you can't turn around. Once the contractions start, what's coming is coming, whether anybody believes it or not. These 7 things, from the bottom of the sea all the way to the sky, are singing the same song. The hour is near. The restless ocean is the opening warning. The heaving ground is the cracking signal. The lightning is heaven's whip. The angels are the guards sent down. The floods are the Noah reminder. The trumpet in the sky is the angel's wake-up blast. And the burning pit is the final note, a door that won't hide what's rising anymore. We can argue about science, air pressure, geology, all day long, but we can't deny these things are showing up in the exact order, the exact cycle, the exact pattern that was prophesied. The scary part isn't any one event, it's the rhythm. They're happening like an unseen hand wants mankind to look up, wake up, and ask, "Are you ready?" That question doesn't make anybody panic. It just makes us take seriously what's passing right before our eyes. Pure coincidence that it follows the Bible's order? Hard to swallow. Mother Nature just happening to match Revelation's program? Even harder. Now that we step back and look at the whole picture, every scattered piece suddenly lights up. This is a warning, not some vague feeling, a loud knock that's getting louder on every door. The signs from the Lord aren't coming one by one anymore. They're coming fast and heavy, like a king drawing near, and every footstep makes the whole creation shake. Do you see it? Sometimes you just have to climb a little higher to see the picture you couldn't see down in the weeds. We're living in what the Bible calls the birth pangs, the hard labor right before the new age breaks through. Every sign is shouting, time is short, creation is crying out, heaven is signaling, earth is sounding the alarm, and God, the same one who spoke from the very beginning, is giving humanity one last clear warning. Wake up, because the hour is near. It's right at the door. And are you ready for what's coming? Looking back at the big picture, these 7 things: the earth groaning, Leviathan rising, trumpets sounding from the sky, angels showing up, floods coming back, lightning striking to cleanse, and sinkholes opening wide, are like steady drumbeats hitting humanity right in the chest. Any one of them by itself would be enough to give us chills, but when you put them all together, they tell a plain story. The last days are getting close. Can you feel that rhythm? It's like heaven and earth are speaking up, and every sound is another warning. What we're seeing isn't random. It's not just nature doing its thing. These are signs, wake-up calls to turn back to God and get ready for Judgment Day. The ground is moaning, the oceans are raging, the sky is shaking. Everything God made is part of the message. Nobody gets to sit this one out. And you, the one reading this right now, you're being invited to listen and wake up, pray, put your trust in Him, and let your faith guide what you do every single day. Remember, every one of these events is a gentle reminder. Love people, forgive, share the good news, and live all out for your faith. When the trumpet blasts, when angels appear, when the pit opens, it's not to scare us for no reason. It's to get our hearts ready, to turn every one of us toward the Lord, where real hope and salvation are. You might ask yourself, what am I going to do with these warnings? The answer is simple. Act on them and trust God. Right now, open your heart. Keep praying without stopping, and let the Lord's light show you the way. Go ahead and share this post. Hit like and subscribe so more folks can hear this wake-up call. Every like, every share, every subscription is a little reminder that we're not walking this road alone. Together we can stand strong through the storms, through the cries of creation, through all the signs of the end times. Let faith lead you and never let hope go out. And right now, drop a prayer in the comments for yourself, your family, the whole world. Let your faith be a light in the dark. God is watching. He's waiting. And every good thing we do gets noticed. Thank you for watching and for caring with your whole heart. Keep in mind that every sign, every event is really a loving warning. Time is short, but with God all things are possible. And we still have time to get ready, to pray, and to live fully in faith.
A well-known pastor says that 19-year-old Barron Trump is very close to accepting Jesus.
I was talking on the phone with Barron Trump at 12:30 at night one night. I thought I was hitting him with everything.
Let's quickly shift gears. We're seeing the First Lady and the President walk out for this national...
President Trump signed an executive order to launch the task force on anti-Christian bias.
During an Easter dinner at the White House, he mentioned the task force.
Well, Christians, for whatever reason, don't vote very much,
Throughout America's history, religion, especially Christianity, hasn't just been a belief. It's been the lifeblood that shaped this country. From George Washington praying on his knees in the snow at Valley Forge, to the dream of building a nation with God at the center, America has always seen itself as that city on a hill whose light has to shine in a dark world. Matthew 5:14 puts it plain and simple. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. But right now, in the middle of all the chaos of our modern times, something quiet but powerful is happening. A series of things President Donald Trump has done between 2024 and 2025 is sparking a deep spiritual awakening. Can you feel it? There's something moving underneath the surface, like history is repeating itself in a way a lot of folks never saw coming. When you look in the Bible, the picture of Cyrus the Great in Isaiah 45 stands out clearer than ever. A pagan king, not one of God's people at all, yet God called him his anointed to set his people free from Babylon. Do you see the strange parallel? A very worldly leader shows up right on time, and God uses him at a critical moment in the story of faith. In this video, we're going to walk through 4 big things, from Barron Trump's own faith journey to the rise of a nationwide movement to protect Christianity, each one like a puzzle piece. And when those pieces come together, the truth gets real clear. Trump is stepping into the role of a modern-day Cyrus, an instrument God is using to get America ready for the last days when faith won't just be protected, it's going to blaze bright again. So don't skip over any of this, all right? And so you don't have to wait another second, come on with me as we dive into these brand new events that show America is stepping into a great turning point, getting ready to welcome the end times. And required. Let's start with 1. Barron Trump and his personal faith journey. Can you believe it? While we were all fast asleep, in the thick darkness, when the whole U.S. was quiet, a surprise call at 12:30 a.m. caused a stir that religious and political watchers are still talking about non-stop. One call, but it opened up the chance for a spiritual turning point in America's most powerful family. According to Pastor Stuart Knechtel, who took the call himself, Barron Trump, Donald Trump's youngest son, is really close to declaring his Christian faith. The news hit like a bombshell, making folks wonder, what's really going on behind the Trump family doors? The key thing, this story came out right when America is dealing with a drop in faith among young people. Pew Research surveys show the number of young folks without religion jumped over 10% in just 15 years. So Barron, a big name in Gen Z, suddenly showing a hunger to seek God late in 2025, right after Trump's re-election win, isn't just family news anymore. It feels like a sign of a spiritual shift, popping up when American society is stuck in doubt and secular stuff. From what Pastor Knechtel shared on the George Yanko Show, the call came around December 4 to 6, 2025. From his NYU dorm in Washington, D.C., Barron, the 9-year-old guy who keeps a low profile and doesn't share much about his life, reached out on his own, starting a long chat full of sharp questions about the historical proof of Jesus. Barron wanted to know why thousands of Muslims in Africa are having supernatural dreams that lead them to Christian faith. And from the pastor, he asked with smart, genuine curiosity you don't see often. Knechtel, who has millions following him on TikTok and Instagram, called that talk a moment full of hope, where a young heart was brushing up against faith's edge. He said Barron got really drawn in hearing about explosive events in religion, times when God shows power through supernatural things. And to Knechtel, Barron's questions weren't just casual wonder, but from a journey starting to unfold. Plenty of people right away connected to that famous Bible part in Isaiah 45:1, where God names Cyrus a foreign king and picks him as a tool for his plan. I'll take hold of his right hand and open doors before him with double gates. A guy not Jewish, not God's people, but chosen, pushed, and given a mission beyond what anyone expected. That picture has folks comparing Barron to a modern Cyrus, a young person God touches quietly amid the country's value crisis. Could it be through Barron that God is opening those double doors for Gen Z to come back to faith? Are those supernatural dreams in Africa no longer far-off tales, but echoing in an American young man's heart? Joel 2:28 once said, "In the last days, God will pour out his Spirit on everyone. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. When dreams from Africa reach a president's family member, many see it as a link in the global web God is quietly weaving. Still, not everyone greets this news with excitement. Some critics say Pastor Neckel's sharing might hurt Barron's privacy, and there's even talk that former First Lady Melania Trump isn't happy about the story spreading. Meanwhile, supporters of the pastor argue he just shared to boost community, faith, and American tradition from past presidents. From Eisenhower to Obama, always had famous pastors like Billy Graham along. Those mixed reactions make the story even more dramatic. But one thing's for sure, with Barron growing into a trusted face in his dad's campaign, his spiritual move, if it's real, could have a big impact on young Americans. And in the end, this event shines a light on Donald Trump, not just as a politician, but as a dad who built space for faith to grow in his family. A family touching millions, a faith that could spread like a chain reaction, and a 12:30 a.m. story making all of America and the global Christian community watch closely. If this is just the start, the biggest question is, what comes next? And could this be a sign that God is gearing up for bigger moves in America and for the generation at faith's crossroads? 2. Trump quotes the Bible at the national Christmas tree lighting. On a chilly December evening, when the Christmas lights were just starting to glow across Washington, something happened that made millions of Americans stop and take notice. On December 4, 2025, during the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the National Mall, an old tradition that goes back decades, President Donald Trump did something unexpected. Right there, on the national stage, he quoted the Bible. It wasn't just a regular holiday greeting. It wasn't a dry political speech. It was a Bible verse, spoken loud and clear like a wake-up call for the whole country. You could almost feel it in the air. Something bigger than politics was happening. America in 2025 was still carrying scars from the pandemic. The political fighting hadn't calmed down one bit, and people were more divided than ever. Folks were hoping this Christmas would finally bring the peace they'd been waiting for. In years past, a lot of the religious meaning had slowly been taken out of the holiday. Too much secular stuff, pushing faith to the side. But this year, Trump turned it around. He put faith front and center again and put Jesus right back where he belongs at Christmas. When the lights on that 30-foot tree came on, Trump stepped up to the microphone. His voice carried across the open mall, strong and steady, as he quoted Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. He didn't rush it. He let every word land. The huge crowd went wild, like they'd been waiting years to hear someone finally say it out loud. He went on to say that the birth of Jesus was the turning point of human history, a moment when darkness got pushed back, hope came alive, and mankind was given a light to follow. He talked about love, forgiveness, and coming together at a time when the country felt like it could snap with the smallest spark. It didn't feel like a regular tree lighting ceremony. It felt more like an old-fashioned revival meeting. Then, a lot of folks immediately thought of another verse, Isaiah 45:4. For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. That's the part about Cyrus, the foreign king God named and used to use to bring his people back, even though Cyrus didn't know him. For people who watch spiritual things closely, hearing Trump quote scripture on national TV raised a quiet question. Could he be walking into a role, something like that? In a messy America, where Christian values are under fire and younger folks are walking away from faith, that great light from Isaiah 9:2 showed up right on time, like a reminder that light can still break through any darkness. People started saying, maybe Trump is being used to shine that light back on faith in America at a critical moment, the same way Cyrus once did. And when you heard him keep coming back to the word light that night, it didn't feel like just a Christmas speech. It felt like a spiritual message. Of course, not everybody loved it. Some said he was turning a cultural tradition into a religious stage for his own gain. But others fired right back. Presidents from Reagan to Bush quoted the Bible at big events too, and putting the religious meaning back into a holiday that started out religious is the most natural thing in the world. A lot of observers said the way Trump read Isaiah 9:2 didn't sound political at all. It sounded like a man who truly believed